Hello, we're Prospa and we're here in our studio in East London.
And we're about to break down our new track, Intended.
This is our track Intended. I think the first thing to sort of say is that we work on separate computers. So here I work on my PC laptop and Harvey in his room works on the iMac. So we're always sending the Reason file between each other. We both work on Reason 10. So there's a lot of bouncing down of audio because I have certain VSTs he doesn't have and he has things that I don't have. But we basically just send the file back and forth on a USB stick, constantly adding bits to it. And so this is our track Intended.
So we're going to start with the drums. So sort of the idea of this track was quite like an 80s inspired drum breakbeat sort of vibe, and so we'll start with.
Show the kick.
We'll start with the kick. Oh, it's so
solid. Just this is from Reason's Rex, Dr. Octo Rex. Reason comes with loads of like sick loops, and we'll like take just its individual hits. So here we've just grabbed the kick of what this is called.
So Rex basically, and it has a lot of. We normally go on the like the hip hop samples because they've got really nice like crisp sort of
almost live but electronic at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Samples. I mean they're all live, but we sort of make them sound electronic by sort of just like processing and like using individual hits. So for example, we've just used a kick from this, and basically we've got.
We'll go through the plugins. So one by one, Audiomatic, one of our top go-to plugins. Here it's not actually doing too much, very subtle, but the tape setting on here, all these different settings just add character to the sound. So here we're using the tape. Usually it gives it a nice bit of mid-range. On this kick, doesn't do too much, just gives it a bit of extra presence. Here, Synapse. We always say Synapse is like Reason's version of Pro Q.
Absolutely amazing graphic EQ.
So here's just giving that sub to the kick.
So basically we've added
without both of them.
Right.
Oh, that's cool. So with both of them on, just gives it that power. And then again, Tube Saturator Vintage, a free plugin, amazing plugin. We use it on so much stuff.
So basically, we boosted the go down
bass here.
Yeah, so we boosted the sort of like low frequencies, sort of like 25 hertz to the 25 to the sort of 50 range, because it gives it a really nice like soft. It's like a soft kick. Whereas if you were to play it, it sort of gives it like that. There's the sort of more like boxy frequency, but we wanted it to be sort of quite like a soft but hard beat at the same time, if that makes sense. So all of the sounds are quite like soft, but the beat's still sort of hard, if that makes sense. And then so for example here we have the Spider Audios. So basically these are for the sidechain, which we literally sidechain absolutely everything.
So in Reason what we do is we get the Spider Audio, if you flip it around again, then we have these outputs going into the sidechain in on the M-Class compressor. M-Class compressor is actually an amazing compression in itself, but for sidechain it just works perfectly.
So these hi-hats, so this is just like a sample of like.
I think it was from Splice actually.
Yeah.
There's like some nice vinyl packs in Splice. We've obviously chopped it. Is it pitched? No, not in this case.
So basically, we ran it through this Reason Audiomatic VST, and basically put the vinyl setting on, and then it sort of gives it like this really nice sort of like mid sound, but then it also gives it a bit of like the vinyl sort of hiss. So basically,
when we bounce it down, what we've actually done is we've chopped it and given it little gaps so that the vinyl isn't constant.
Yeah, because it sort of just gives it that like, it's like we've actually sampled it. Do you know what I'm saying? So. And then
got the open hi-hat as well.
Oh yeah. So for example, this open hi-hat, just Just like I say, really simple. Not actually. We'll see what the processing is on this. Just a
little
bit
bit of EQ, and also I think the original sample is slightly time stretched or just a bit longer. Obviously that's the original sample, but for this we want to really have it nice and tight, so it sort of cuts at the bar there. So yeah, that's sort of the main hi-hat. Do you want to explain about the snare?
Yeah, no. So basically, the snare, because it's a breakbeat, we sort of want the snare to really stand out. Do you know what I'm saying? Because if the bass on the snare doesn't really match the kick, then it's gonna sort of like, it's not really gonna sound that powerful. So for example, so yeah, no, I'll go through the what we've done on this. Yeah, so basically we've got the tube saturator.
Drives quite high.
Yeah, drives quite high. The EQ's on, a bit of treble, and then we've got so we've got another Synapse EQ on there. With just like a bit of a mid boost to sort of give it that really nice like crunchiness, if you get me.
Play it with and without.
And then so that's without. It's just super subtle, but it's offered like the subtleness can make the biggest differences. And then here we've actually boosted the harmonic frequency of where
gives it that sort of 80s sound.
So for example, if you overdo it, just sounds grimier, but it's just that really subtle, and it's where it's like
gives it power.
Yeah, it gives it loads of power. So if we take it off, it just sounds
no power at all.
Sounds shit. But yeah. So yeah. Anyways, so that's a snare.
I think as well, like with a lot of our productions, when we're making these sort of simple, clear beats, we like to have just that one main sample, especially for like the snare. And then what we'll do is we'll add extra layers to give it more variation. So for instance, if we listen to the beat, got the main sort of snare going, and later on, as the intro develops, we have these extra claps, just to give the beat variation, make sure it's always changing.
And also, so if you listen to the claps as well, if we zoom right in, so these claps actually, they play just before the hit of the actual snare. So it just gives it that sort of like nice like crunchiness, if you get me.
Yeah, you can see the position is just slightly offset.
Yeah.
Yeah, and up here, these, because when we originally start a track, often the beat will end up being completely different by the end of it. And I think these hi-hats actually came from the first sort of version of this beat. And we just took a little tiny bit of it. They were stuttered using Isotope stutter edit. And then the width, basically the ha's widener, gives it a sort of, almost a unison-y, like quite just a mad sort of sound to it. Also makes it wide. And yeah. So that just gives the beat more variation.
And then the toms, if we look at the toms, so it's actually, so the toms are literally just one singular hit. It's just like an 80s sounding sort of style tom, sort of like a classic vibe. And then, so if we see it here, got, this is transposed -1 semitone.
Yeah.
These -4, but then this one was actually rebounced, time stretched and pitched down. So
it all comes from one sample.
yeah, literally all from one side. It's pans as well, so from left to right, and then that's literally pretty much it for
That's
the drums.
the main bit of, oh yeah, there's this extra little hi-hat accent.
Yeah, it's just like a tiny little accent.
Solid.
But like in the beat, it just sort of gives it like, it's like the smallest
Accents of syncopation slightly.
Because if you notice on our tracks, there's normally in a lot of dance music, it's always like accents on the sort of offbeat, so it's like. But with ours, it's sort of like a bit more of a, the accent is on the kick and the snare. So it's like, do you know what I'm saying?
And the hi-hats are syncopated, sort of moving around it.
Yeah.
So this is the vocal. We sampled "Let No Man Put Us Under" by First Choice, and we actually ended up getting it re-sung for sample clearance purposes. But what we got them to do is to re-sing at the original pitch of the sample, sort of just try and copy the sample as much as possible, so that we can then add our own effects and our own pitching to make it sound accurate.
Yeah, because we
to
did
what
like
we did
time
track.
stretching and pitching and all that sort of stuff. So that anyways, so
It's just solid.
It's very simple. We wanted to keep it fairly dry, you know, not like overdo it with a load of effects. But so basically, what we don't really like to use too much reverb or delay or anything like that, because I feel that sometimes it's just like it can sound quite like overpowering, and basically but when we do, normally we'll just use multi-panning on echo or reasons like new sort of delay thing. And basically, if we look inside of it, we basically just put the filter on, turn the drive up a tiny bit, offset down, so it doesn't like go off time, if you get me. It's on like a 3/16 rhythm, and then
the filter's got resonance on it, and a bit of drive as well to show the dry wet.
So really nice. Yeah. So for example, if so just you sort of get the point. Because if I was to turn the filter off, you can. Just doesn't sound that nice, you know what I mean? And then, yeah, so basically, so that's literally it, like chopped up vocal sort of.
There's a glitcher later on.
Yeah.
Got stutter in it.
Then this one sec.
It's here.
That one, yeah. Oh wait, shit, one sec. You say if we sold, yeah, so you can sort of just hit in the track like. Yeah, so it's was that used on
Stutter Edit, I think. Yeah, Stutter Edit. So just program a basic patch in Stutter Edit that just does 16ths.
And then
play it in on the keyboard.
So for example, if we scroll later, so this other vocal, people are always quite often asking me like where we got it from, if it's the same track, but basically. If I take all the effects off, we basically auto-tuned it, right? And let me just take this. So it's like auto-tuned, it's like time stretched, it's basically cut up, all that sort of stuff. Loads of distortion on. I'll go through all the effects. So obviously we start with just an EQ, just a little boost in the mid. And then, actual compression on this time. And then, this is basically Reason's, what's it called? The fucking...
Neptune Autotune.
Yeah, it's Neptune Autotune. And basically we just draw the notes in, as you can see here. And then add some, basically this Audiomatic gadget. Absolutely amazing.
So that's another setting on the Audiomatic. Just
so if we take
nice
it off,
character,
if we take
nice
it
distortion.
Makes so much of a difference.
Makes it louder, makes it more powerful.
Tube saturator again. We use this quite a lot in this track.
Definitely.
Treble up, drive up loads.
All the bass cut out.
The fat on.
Bit of reverb as well. Give it a bit of space.
Yeah.
I think it's probably one of the only things.
Nice bit of high-end reverb as well, because normally, like, in the sort of old 80s sort of like tracks, there was a lot of the time when they used the reverb, it was very like high-end reverb.
It's good the reverb in Reason, the RV 7000 has the actual EQ just built in.
EQ the bass out and just...
It's nice and simple. You can just quickly straight away take the bass out, boost a bit of the mids on the actual reverb.
Turn the damp down, high EQ up, and then boom, we got it. Then just a bit of...
just a bit of boxiness taken out, a bit of high end added in with that Synapse EQ.
Yeah. That's literally it for all of the vocals through the track. That's it.
Yeah.
And then...
Let's do the pads.
So this was made on, it was on the Jupiter.
Yeah. Yeah, so most of the sort of main synths in this track were made either with the Roland Jupiter emulation or the Arpeggiator one. So this pad, we obviously played the chords in. It's been bounced out as audio. With this sort of first pad that comes in, there's like an 8th sort of gated rhythm. Sorry, 16ths. Sort of a lowish mid-range sort of synth. And that's coming in with a level automation at the start of the track. And then above that, or with it rather, we have the 8th pad. Again on the Jupiter. This one's a bit more dry. And then we have the bass as well coming in here in the intro.
With the LPF on it, it's basically a low cut frequency filter.
Yeah.
So basically, like with this track, because I mean, I suppose to be honest, all of our tracks, we use a lot of the sort of analog emulation VSTs, just because
They sound great.
they're just like, it's just that they've all got like quite a classic sound to them. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, we don't really like to use digital synths unless we're doing like sound design stuff. But on this track, it wasn't really like, doesn't have the most like insane sound design on it, so we just. So basically, this it's quite unison. It's got like a bit of a unison effect on it.
So I think this one was made in the Arpeggiator Jupiter because the inbuilt effects in there are really good. So mess around with the phaser in there. And so this actually has an LFO on the cutoff and resonance, as well as having a phaser on it.
So it gives it that
Yeah.
that sort of sound.
And then here, let's just go through the effects. So the first thing we sort of have is bit tube. Straight away, adds volume, it adds power. It's got the fat on, drive is up, bit of bass, just slight boosts. Put that back. This EQ is actually used for automation.
Yeah, to take the bass out later.
At certain points in the track. This synapse here is the main sort of body of the synth. Like, it adds so much power. Like, without those two, it's
Sounds
quite
boring.
thin, quite weak. Straight away gives it a nice sub, high end, mid range. And then I think this last tube saturator is just adding a slightly extra bit of bass. Thing is, the bass boosts when you use the tube saturator sound slightly different to when you're just EQing them in. So it's good to sort of mix and match and use both at the same time.
Yeah, so.
Ah, yeah, here's another thing to mention.
Yeah, no, so basically earlier on I was saying that, for example, we like to basically just bounce out most of our synths as audio. Sort of just allows you to be a bit more creative sometimes, you know, like when it comes to chopping stuff up or like stuff like that. So basically,
the intro synth that you heard, the 16th one, what happened was it was bounced out, and then if you solo this one that comes in at the start of the verse.
So basically, for example, this came earlier on in the track, yeah.
In the intro.
And then basically, pitch this up 12 semitones, so that's an octave, right? And basically, just sort of like, for example, if you were to do it within the MIDI, if you were to pitch it up 12, it wouldn't sound like this because it's like, on the audio, it's actually changing the format, it's changing
all the effects, the
reverb,
the
pitch of the reverb, like absolutely
the whole
everything.
frequency spectrum of what the synth takes up goes up an octave.
Absolutely, so
it gives it so much air.
And it was just nice. It gave it that sort of like, it's very in the background, but it just gives it this really nice sort of like sparkly, like nice high end. But there's also, if we listen here, there's some
string.
Also like a string from.
And the same things actually happen there. So if you click on that, you see that's been transposed 12.
12.
So we will have made it an octave lower. All the effects, everything gets transposed with it.
Yeah. And it just, like I say, it just gives it that weird sort of like sound, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So this sort of comes in on the verse. And what we like to do is sort of mess around with sort of octave shifting in our tracks. So you hear everything's up high right now. And as we go, as the track sort of breaks down before the chorus, you hear this string drops down an octave. Gives a nice effect really as you transition in between sections. And yeah, here you see the automation on the bass.
Yeah, so for example, here the bass is really
It's
really full, it's out, it's very crunchy, it's got like this sort of like, it's got the phaser effect on it, it's got all the LFOs working, and basically, so just after the chorus, in this sort of breakdown section where when everything sort of chills out, this starts to filter, the high end comes out, so if you listen, the high end comes out.
See the automation there.
And then going down and down and down,
and then as it's sort of building up into the chorus, the low end starts to get cut out and the high end comes back in.
See this, the bass. Yeah, so look, the low end starts to come out, and then
in this section, as the bass sort of starts, the high end starts to get cut out. We have a couple of things coming in. We have this layer of drums. So that was made using Sugar Bytes Effectrix, the tone delay plugin on it. Awesome
so
plugin.
put the click on so you can hear it properly.
Yeah, you can see it's been quantized, the audio, everything. It's just adding some variation to the drums.
And then
You have this synth.
This synth, it's sort of like, so if we solo it, we called it fucking vibe, and so it's like a sort of square, sorry, not square, like a sawtooth sort of sounding. Was it made on the Juno, the Jupiter?
No, it's Jupiter. This.
Jupiter, yeah. So basically,
again.
it's
Quite
got
dry.
It's got an LFO on the high pass, so it's you sort of hit like.
Just gives it a nice sort of mid-range power in this section as the bass is sort of filling
Yeah, and
out.
just sort of like it gives it a bit of like dynamics to it.
Here, on
So
this drop, we
basically-
see the entrance of a new string melody.
Yeah, so if you look here, so this was actually made on the Thor, which is it's basically Reason's like one of Reason's sort of in-house synthesizers. Absolutely amazing. I didn't really, I've only sort of started using it within the last like 2 sort of 3 years, but it's absolutely amazing because it's pretty much like an analog sort of VST itself. Do you know what I mean? But obviously it's its own thing.
Yeah. Obviously, that's sort of giving the high end layer, the sort of quite clear high end.
Super sparkly as well.
Yeah, and then we've got this lower layer made on the Jupiter, which has again cut off and resonance modulation. We always like to use it; just gives the sounds movement.
So if we go back onto the Thor, I'll show you how it's made. So, so basically, wanted to sort of give it that old school sort of feel to it. So there's actually a bit of an LFO on the pitch, if that makes sense. So basically, but it's also just like, it's panning from left to right. It uses multi-oscillator, and it gives it a bit of like detune. So if this is straight, so it just sounds quite
Very
boring
straight,
straight.
yeah.
And then that's like super obviously overdone, yeah. But it just like
Gives it character.
gives it character, a bit more voicing, bit of chorus, And to make it super smooth as well, turn the attack and the release up as well. And then obviously once it's mixed with everything, it's just sort of sits on the high end of the track, really nice. Do you know what I mean? The sort of high end frequencies. And then oh yeah, no, so
yes, play from there as it comes in.
yeah, no, so basically this melody. So this is a great example of why we bounce out to audio. So this was originally, let me play it with the click. So it was actually it was just a standard sort of square wave on what synth was it on?
Jupiter again.
Yeah, the Jupiter again.
Yeah.
Jesus. So I'm gonna take up all these effects.
You see, super, really soft, to be honest, without all them effects.
And it's if you listen. So basically, like, some of the notes are actually from the reverb tail that we've chopped up. That's literally, I mean, and with all the effects taken off, it doesn't really sound too great. But, for example, so the tube saturator again, and then the tape, which we use on a lot of stuff, it gives it a really nice, like, mid-range presence. And then cracked this proper crazy, like, distortion sort of plug-in, then actual compression this time rather than just side chain.
And we haven't even talked about pulverizer yet.
Oh God.
Our secret mix trick. Basically, whenever we put pulverizer if you put pulverizer on anything, even like in this case with the dirt and the squash fully down, it always just gives it a nice bit of mid-range body. So play it without. Here you see sort of the cracked and the tape here. It has a bit too much high end. It's a bit, it just doesn't have enough body. But when you add the pulverizer, it's, even though the frequency is all the way up, it slightly filters the sound.
So with the super high end out, and it always sort of just squishes the whole thing. That's even when the squash is down, it just squishes the whole thing.
Bit. Yeah, so in this case, the actual glitches and stuff, the stutters, they've just been done manually.
Play. Very syncopated melody as well. It was originally made, it was on the dual harp, wasn't it?
Yeah, so a lot of the time when we're starting melodies, we use the Reason Player dual harp. And so what we did for this one was put it on the Jupiter, mess around with the notes that it's playing, and when you actually hit the keys, like at different rhythms, it like starts the arpeggiator at slightly offset times, so you can get cool syncopated sort of sounds. And what I actually did was automated the level of the melody so that it muted any time the kick and snare played. That meant that it would only happen obviously in the gaps, which means it's really tight and fits with the beat well.
But then
obviously that was the original melody.
But
then once it's bounced down and messed with, then we're like syncopating little parts, offsetting bits, glitching it to make the full actual final melody.
Completely changed the phrasing. It's a bit of a love-hate relationship that I have with the dual harp. Like sometimes it's absolutely amazing, and sometimes it's just bollocks, man. Yeah. But yeah, no. So that's pretty much it with that melody, and then these sort of like airy ambiences come back in, sort of like
filling out the background.
Sort of signalling that it's about to break down as well. Do you know what I mean? And this synth, the fucking vibe synth, comes back in again.
So here we have like the big breakdown before the final drop, the final chorus. This is like the big emotional moment.
Everything's sort of just automating back in again. So a lot of volume automations, and then
new breakbeat here.
New breakbeat, and then
glitch with stutter edit.
If you hear the bass slowly creeping back in.
Yeah. The beat.
Yeah, no. So this beat was literally like a very real sounding sort of beat.
Yeah.
Little parts, done with stutter edit. Some of the glitching done manually as well.
So again, like when you bounce out to audio, see like here you hear the stutter edit, like you can still sort of hear the background textures of the beat, but once it's been bounced out with all the effects, and we do that glitch there, that sort of gives it a nice bit of variation because you actually get a break from all the background textures of the beat. So all the glitches here still have the effects on, but then when it stops here,
very tight. It's a lot more tight.
So everything's coming up now.
And then, so yeah, this was sort of like the epic part of the track, because throughout the whole track you're hearing all these sort of things separately, like the strings and the melody and like the vocal, like, and basically this was just like the epic part where they all come together.
New melody comes in, what stays in with the high string.
And the vocal as well, so it's just like, and it's about like fitting all the sounds together as well, because sometimes like you could make the nicest synth, but you play it with everything else and it just sounds, doesn't sound good at all. And it's like, that is the sort of like main thing, is making all the sounds literally fit perfectly together. Do you know what I mean? And then this literally pretty much every single synth is bounced out as audio.
Yeah.
So this is called Orbital Alert 2.
Sounds a lot like Orbital.
It was made on, what was the plugin that?
It was the Oberheim.
Oh, yeah.
I think, let me search it up. The Arpeggiator one, yeah, Oberheim, SEM, and yeah, man, it's an amazing sort of same chord pattern, arpeggiated. Lots of delay on it, and then bounced out. And what actually happened is, on this particular one, you can't see all the extra effects, but
been like rebound.
There's the audio 10 cracked is on it, pulverizer. I think this was one of the old bounces of it. Yeah, you see pulverizer there, some EQ, tube saturator, unison as well. But I know for a fact there's also the cracked.
Oh yeah, there's cracked, and there's also a bit of a bit crushing as well.
Yeah. This is sort of at the end of the track, just to give a new element to come in to keep things interesting.
But it sort of just shows, it's sort of just like signalling that it's the end.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A completely new thing. It just sounds like it's
the end of the track.
You know what I'm saying? And then it just slowly filters out. As you can see, filters out, and then this synth comes back in again, and then slowly fades out, and then everything just
drum outro.
Yeah, and then that's literally it. That's it. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the breakdown of our new track, Intended.
It's out now, available on all streaming platforms.